Hi everyone, just a quick reminder that if you want to follow along the journey of making this dress in real time with me, both on Instagram and YouTube, then please consider supporting me on Patreon. You get to choose how much to pledge per month, and you will receive live updates both on my close friends' Instagram stories and access to all of the YouTube videos right now. Hope you enjoy the video. Hey guys, so I've tried making some modifications to the bodice. You would have seen in that time lapse that I trimmed off the excess fabric along the neckline of the bodice. So I trimmed it down on both sides. All I did was just fold the pieces in half, pin them together, and then cut so they're both symmetrical. And then I went in and then I hand basted the edges because I don't want the satin coming apart from the cotton. Now, I've gotten to this stage and then was trying to figure out how to actually bind off these edges. One idea was to use bias binding, and this is the one that I've got. This is actually quite a lot larger than what I usually go for. I don't know why I've got such large bias binding, but oh well. And I was thinking of using this to bind off the edges along the inside. So if you imagine this being sewn on how you would usually sew on the bias tape, and then it would come over to the inside here and it would nicely close off the raw edges. So that was one idea. But what I don't like about this idea is the thickness, the bulk that's caused by this stiff cotton fabric. It's quite a bit bulky. Now, I might end up doing it this way, at least for the top edge. But the other idea that I just had was actually two other ideas. One idea is to basically make my own bias binding tape out of the satin fabric and then have that basically act as the border along the neckline edge. The only thing with that is it won't look very pretty. It will be seen, and that means it needs to be done nicely, which I don't want to do. So my next idea is to do a similar sort of thing to what I did on the inside edges. So I would trim down this cotton layer a bit more and then fold over just the satin layer over the top of the raw edge of the cotton layer, and then apply my bias binding like that. And I'll probably, if I do end up using this bias binding, I'll probably chop it in half because this is way too wide for what I need it for. And then that way I've got thin edges, but I've also got rid of the raw edges as well. So those are the ideas. Thing is, I've already hand basted this down, and doing the method that I just told you about would mean that I'd need to cut out the basting stitching and redo it a bit further up, and then trim down the cotton layer. And that all sounds like a lot of work to me right now. It's 5 o'clock. I've been doing this, working on this bodice for 2 hours now, including all of the try-ons that I did today, try-ons and fittings and such. So I just don't know. I just don't know. I'm going to think about it some more before I settle on an idea, but yeah, that's my thinking right now. So, update on the bodice. What I ended up deciding to do was iron down the top edge. So iron it about a centimetre, I'd say. Yeah, roughly a centimetre. And this here is the centre back. So it is a bit thick and bulky at this point, but that's all right. Ironing it really did help flatten it out a bit. These shoulder seams are quite bulky because of the way I closed off these edges. Now that I think of it, I probably could have gotten away with not doing this to the shoulder seams, doing the raw edge binding like this, because the shoulder strap is so thin to the point where this fabric, I could have just sewn it on top to cover up the raw edges of the seam allowance. But I didn't think of that, so it's done now. It's just really bulky. Coming down to the front of the neckline, it's just like that. And then the other side is a little bit bulky because this edge is turned under. And this is the edge that's going to overlap onto this edge. So this is the right side and this is the left side. So the left side comes in first and then the right side would like hook and eye over the top. So I've ironed down this corner piece as best I can, and I'm hoping if my fittings worked out the way it should have, this point here marks the center front of the bodice, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see about that. And then I've also just pinned all the way down the center front so I know where that needs to lay. So I'm thinking I'm going to hand sew this all down. I'm not going to do it tonight because I'm really tired and I'd rather be doing some photo editing stuff. Yeah, and it's time for dinner anyway, so I'm going to leave it here. This bodice is taking a while, but whatever. Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned, but I also put in the waist tape. So the waist tape is secured on at the center back and the two side seams, and I just hand sewed those down. Yeah, and that's just going to help with keeping this back portion of the bodice in place because it likes to creep up. That's the update. I'm probably going to work on this if I can each night after work. So hopefully I can get the neckline done one night and then the armholes done the next night or something, and then the bottom edge as well done. So that's the goal for the end of the week. I do remember saying that I was thinking about doing the sleeves before I started adjusting the bodice, but I've now changed my mind. I'm going to finish off all of the edges, including the arm size, and after I've done all of that, then I'm going to attach the sleeves. Yeah, I just want to get all of the raw edges gone first, and I also do want to get the closures in so I can actually see how this looks. And yeah. Oh, I also need to put in the boning. So I was originally intending of having boning at the center back and also boning at the side fronts, but I'm not sure. I think I will have it at the side fronts and I'll probably just put it at the center back as well, but I don't think I'll put it anywhere else. Like I won't put it at the center front because I think that will be fine. Yeah, but possibly these ones, they definitely need boning, I think. I don't know about the center front for now. I will worry about that when I get to it. Hi everyone, so quick update on how the bodice is going. I've spent the past couple of nights hand sewing down the top edge of the bodice. So that's the top edge along there, that's the centre back, and then it goes back up, and all around the shoulder seam and all the way to the centre front. As for the centre front, I've just left that pinned like this because I might need to take it in or let it out some more. I used a basic crisscross stitch, the same one that I used to secure the hem of the skirt. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've already filmed clips of how I did this on the skirt, so you can just watch that if you want to see how this stitch is done. But I make sure that I don't go through to the outside, so there's no visible stitching on the right side of the fabric. Last night I went ahead and sewed the raw edge down of the satin of the armscye, so the only difference between the top edge of the bodice and the armscye is that the top edge has both the cotton and the satin being folded over and then sewn down, whereas this one only has the satin layer folded over and stitched down. So it's a lot thinner. I don't want any bulk at the shoulder, sorry, not the shoulder, the armscye region, so that's the reason for that. So I'm still yet to do the other armscye. So this is how it's currently looking. Basically I just trim down this edge and then fold it over and then do my crisscross stitch all the way along. So I'm going to continue doing that, and I think I might see if I can finish off the bottom edge of the bodice. The other thing that I need to do is sew a hook and eye closure on the waist tape. So I've already marked with blue pen where I need these pieces to meet, so that is where I'm going to sew the hook and eye closure. I'm pretty sure I've already shown this before, but the waist tape is just secured at the centre back and the two side seams, along the waistline of course. Hey again, so I'm going to put in the cable ties now that I've closed off the edges of the armscye, both armscye, and I've also put in the hook and eye closure at the waist tape, so that just closes like this. And I've also hand stitched down the raw edges so they won't fray. Next I am going to put in the cable ties as boning. As you can see, I've already got two in this one just to see how that will look, and it looks perfectly fine. I'm also going to put another two in the opposite side, one in the centre front. I'm going to sew a boning channel in the centre front along here, and I will probably hand stitch where these pins are to hand tack that down. And I'm also going to have two cable ties as boning in the centre back along these two channels that I've created, and this is only going down to the waist. I'm not going to have the cable ties go all the way down for the centre back, that is. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and I will check back in once I've done that. I'm slowly getting there. This is what it currently looks like. So I've put in the boning channel in the centre front, and I've also taken out the pins, and that's how the top part looks of the centre front. I've also got the boning in these two channels on either side of the centre front, as well as boning in the centre back as well. And then as for the bottom edge, I just trimmed it off to the length that I wanted it, and then folded over both the cotton and the satin layers, pinned that down. These corner edges are not very good, and also I'm not sure if I need to alter that, because it's a bit hard to figure out where I want this to close up in the front, but I've sort of just made a guesstimate of where this point will be, so that's the guesstimate there on the bottom. And then as for the top, I'm not really sure how much overlap will be needed, and I have a feeling, well actually I know, that this edge will not be parallel completely to this edge. There will be a bit of discrepancies there. So that's something I'll have to work through once I've actually sewn all of this down and gotten rid of the pins, because I can't try this on with the pins because they keep poking me, and that's not fun. So the next thing for me to do is to hand stitch down all along the bottom edge of the bodice, and then I can actually try it on with the corset and figure out the closure in the centre front. So yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but it will do. Morning guys, so last night I worked on hand stitching down the bottom edge of the bodice, which you can see I've done here. Again, I used my crisscross stitch with a mix of just random whip stitching where there were really thick areas. So the really thick areas were obviously this point here at the back, and then where there's boning, and then also at the side seams. Now, I tried this on last night. Sorry I didn't get any footage of me trying it on, but patrons, you would have seen on my Instagram stories that, like, what it looked like tried on. And from that fitting, I was not happy with how the front V shape was looking. I felt it was too, I don't know, it was just too wide. I want it to be a skinnier sort of V, so I think I want to change this shape. So I still want the point in the centre front to come down to here, but I want the rest of the V to sort of taper in a bit more. And that means I'll need to cut through the boning as well if I want to fix this up, which I do. So I guess something a bit more along this line, maybe even a bit deeper, a bit curvier. But I don't know if going too curvy will be a bad idea. Maybe something in between. Something like that. So I get rid of that excess fabric. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to, what I usually do is I fold this in half, chop off the excess fabric, and then, yeah, I can go from there. But first I need to take out all the stitching that I did. At least it's only for the front portion of the bodice, so it shouldn't take too long. Fingers crossed. Oh, I think cut a bit too wonky. Look at this. This is not the shape that I want, damn it. Oh well. Look, it's done. It's too late to go back. Okay, I'm going to see what I can do to fix it. I'll probably just continue as is, and I don't know. Why did I do this? Okay, so I've done what I can, and this is what I'm left with. I did have to cut off a bit of excess around here because it was peeking over where I didn't want it to, obviously because now it's much thinner. I don't know if you can tell, but this edge is different to this edge, as in one of them's higher than the other very slightly just because of the way I cut it, which was, you know, not the greatest way of cutting it, as you saw. I was just literally cutting through all of the boning and all of the sandwich layers together using my dodgy scissors. These are my boning cutting scissors, as opposed to my nice fabric scissors. So that's why the cutting job wasn't too great. All I've done is just pinned, same sort of thing that I did before, but obviously now it's shorter, pinned over the excess seam allowance, tried to do the corners as best I could, but that's it. I'm going to leave it, and I need to run some errands now, but then when I get back I am going to hand stitch all along the inside edge of the bodice, and then I can work on putting in the hooks and bars, not hooks and bars, yeah, hooks and bars, hooks and eyes. Hooks and eyes, that's it. Hooks and eyes for the front closure. I'm going to be using, I'm going to be following along Nikki Liam's video about doing that because I love her work and it's a very good video. You should watch it if you want to know how to put in hooks and bars, hooks and eyes, whatever they are. Put in any sort of bodice closures for historical type bodices. Even though this is a fantasy garment, I am sort of like taking inspiration from historical sewing techniques. So that is it. I will go now and I will come back with an update, hopefully once I've actually sewn all of the bottom edge of the bodice as well as all of the hooks and eyes. I don't think you really need to see that on time lapse because that's boring.